Good morning, student. Today we are talking on topic cardiac output. Under this topic, we are going to study what is cardiac output, what are the normal values of the cardiac output, what are the factors affecting and regulating cardiac output. At the end, how the cardiac output it is determined. That is different methods of determination of cardiac output. So before to start these points, see the competency of this topic. Competency means at the end of this class, you must know, you should know what are the factors affecting and regulating the cardiac output. Okay, and here again see, you should know what are the factors affecting on cardiac output or what are the factors which regulate cardiac output. Now see the question. A popular question on cardiac output are describe in detail factors regulating cardiac output and add a note on oxygen fixed principle method used to determine cardiac output. In this LAQ, that is a question for 10 marks, what you have to describe? You have to describe like first what is the definition of cardiac output, mention normal values, then see the physiological variation, pathological variation, okay, mention it. Then also uh, take one by one, write the factors affecting on the cardiac outputs, then describe these factors in detail which determine the cardiac output, and add a note on how the cardiac output it is measured or it is determined. Okay, so this is under the popular method is fixed principle, that is the oxygen fixed principle method. Okay, here the short question answer question can be asked on the method, that is a fixed principle method to determine the cardiac output. Now coming to the point, we'll see one by one. First, what is a cardiac output? Definition is very simple, students. It is a amount of blood pumped by each ventricle into the circulation per minute is called cardiac output. Very simple decision. You take right ventricle or left ventricle, the blood pumped by right ventricle or left ventricle into the aorta per minute is called the cardiac output, and usually it refers the blood pumped by left ventricle into the aorta per minute is called cardiac output. Now the normal values. When you are at the resting stage, the cardiac output is 5 to 6 liters per minute. Okay, and depending on your activities or exercise, cardiac output it increases, but the normal values when you are not doing any activity, it is 5 to 6 liters per minute. Okay, how the cardiac output it is calculated? It is calculated the heart rate into stroke volume. Okay, so we'll see how to calculate. Before, see what is a stroke volume. Some terminologies are there. uh, it's concerned with the cardiac output. Cardiac output is expressed in three ways. First, what is a stroke volume? Stroke volume, simply it is amount of blood pumped by each ventricle per beat. Okay, so per beat for one stroke, how much blood is pumped? When you are at the resting stage, it is about 70 ml. That is range is 60 to 80 ml blood is pumped per stroke, per contraction of ventricle into the circulation. Okay, now we'll continue. What is the minute value? Minute volume is the same as the cardiac output. Okay, so amount of the blood pumped by each ventricle into the circulation per minute is called the minute volume. So it is same like the cardiac output. Okay. Third terminology, and it is always calculated, that is a cardiac index. Okay. So for cardiac index is calculated, it is one of the important parameters like blood pressure, heart rate, height, weight. Like this cardiac index is also measured or it is calculated. So what is cardiac index? It is very important parameters in the selection of different services. So what is it? The cardiac output per square meter of body surface area is called the cardiac index. Means how much blood is pumped for 1 square meter of surface area of the body. Okay. Now, for example, in normal person with the 70 kg weight, so how much is cardiac index? So cardiac index is calculated the cardiac output divided by total surface area. Okay. Suppose take one example. Your cardiac output is about 5.6 liter. It is in between 5 to 6 liter. And if the person is with 70 kg weight, then his body surface area is about 1.7 meters square. Then your cardiac index will be about 3 liters per minute per meter square surface area of the body. Okay, that is called the cardiac index. Now coming to the cardiac reserve. What is a cardiac reserve? It is a reserve means our is a capacity of human heart to pump the blood into circulation when you start the activities or whenever it is required. That is called the reserve, cardiac reserve. Suppose, for example, this cardiac reserve is from 20 to 35 liters per minute. What is the meaning? The meaning of this sentence is that human heart can pump blood about 20 to 35 liters per minute. Okay, so if you see in the different individuals, the cardiac reserve is about 20 liters in common man. Okay, in the common person, it is about 20 liters. But if the person is trained, if the person is sport person or training is there, then cardiac output can be increased up to the 30 to 35 liters maximum per liter, sorry, liters per minute. Means the trained person, athletic person, their heart can pump about 30 liters blood per minute. Okay, that is called the cardiac reserve. But in common person it can be increased up to the 20 liters. Keep in mind. Now students, during exercise, when you start the exercise, there is increase in cardiac output, because during the exercise the need of the body for oxygen and nutrients, it increases. Okay, so during exercise many physiological effects occurring together and cause the cardiac output to increase almost in proportion to the degree of exercise or to the severity of the exercise. You are, for example, you are doing mild exercise, moderate exercise, severe exercise. So depending on the severity, cardiac output, it increases. And the physiological effects are coming. So what are the physiological effects? Cardiac output, it is a product of heart rate into the stroke volume. So we can say that the physiological effects are, there is increase in heart rate, there is increase in force of contraction, there is increase in blood pressure, there is decrease in peripheral resistance, there is increase in metabolism. If the metabolism of the body it increase, then there is increase in blood flow to the tissue, for example skeletal muscle. Then there is increase in venous return. So these are the physiological effects occurring. Okay, so increase in venous return, increase in heart rate, increase in force of contraction, it leads into the increase in blood pressure, and there is increase in cardiac output. Like this, physiological effects are coming into the picture when you start the activities. So again we'll come there, or again we'll discuss it. Before to that, we'll see the physiological variations in cardiac output. Variations in cardiac output. physiological variations and pathological variations. You know, what are the physiological variation? When you are writing the answer of long question, you always write these variations, physiological variations and pathological variation in the cardiac output. You know, normal cardiac output, I told it is 5 to 6 liter. So it, according to the age, cardiac output it changes. Cardiac output is less in children as compared to adults. According to the age, it increases. Now, sex, it is less in female than male. Okay. Then diurnal variation. So here if you see the morning hours, evening hours, afternoon hours, so cardiac output is low in the early morning and increases slightly in the daytime or at the evening hours. Slightly it increases. Then emotional conditions, you know, during emotional conditions, for example, there is increase in excitement, anxiety, if you are thinking or if you are more emotional, so that time, you know, slightly heart rate increases, metabolism it increases. So we can say that emotional conditions affects on cardiac output and it leads into increase in its values. Okay. You know, during exercise, cardiac output increases. It depends on the severity of the exercise. Cardiac output it increases according to the severity of exercise. During sleep, cardiac output is minimum because during the sleep there is no activities and the metabolism is, basal metabolic rate is less. That's why cardiac output is minimum during sleep. Okay. Now the pregnancy, in pregnancy the cardiac output it increases, that first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, like this it goes on increasing. And if you see in the later months, that is in the third trimester, the cardiac output it can be increased up to the 40% of its normal value. Okay. So we can say that during pregnancy cardiac output it increases during the later months of gestation. Okay. Now we'll continue, next slide. Students, see the pathological variations. So in pathological variation, uh, when the cardiac output increases and when it decreases. Increase in cardiac output, these are the some condition that increases cardiac output. So increase in cardiac output in fever, anemia and hyperthyroidism. Okay, you know, in fever cardiac output it increases. You know, any increase in body temperature, it first increases metabolism, it also increases heart rate. Okay, because it has the local effect on SA node, pacemaker. Then it also increases force of contraction. Like this, in fewer cardiac output it increases. Okay. Then in anemia, you know what is anemia? The decrease in RBC count and HB content. That means the oxygen carrying capacity of blood it decreases in anemia, and for to fulfill the requirement of the body for metabolism, there is increase in heart rate and force of contraction, which leads into increase in cardiac output. Okay. It may be due to the hypoxia, is one of the primary determinant during in the anemia, because in hypoxia, due to the decrease in partial pressure of oxygen, there is increase in heart rate. Okay. Students, in hyperthyroidism there is increase in cardiac output. You know, in hyperthyroidism this hormones it increases the basal metabolic rate, and due to increase in basal metabolic rate, the need of the body for nutrients, oxygen, it is increased, and it ultimately leads into the increase in cardiac output. Okay. Now see, coming to the conditions during which cardiac output it decreases. Okay. Pathological decrease in cardiac output. For example, in hypothyroidism, it is opposite to the hyperthyroidism. In hypothyroidism, there is a decrease in metabolism. Then due to so the cardiac output decreases. In atrial fibrillation, here also there is a decrease in cardiac output, because due to the incomplete filling of the atria or the blood in ventricles. Myocardial infarction, why the cardiac output decreases? Because it weakens the contraction, heart becomes weak, and the force of contraction it decreases in myocardial infarction. Then in severe valve diseases, cardiac output it decreases. For example, in aortic regurgitation and aortic stenosis, in regurgitation there is a backflow of the blood, and that's why cardiac output it decreases. Then in cardiac shock, due to the poor pumping, because heart is the organ also suffered due to the less blood supply itself. That is, a cardiac muscle itself, it suffers due to the less blood supply during the cardiac shock, and that's why there is a poor pumping of the blood, and ultimately blood cardiac output it decreases. Then in hemorrhage, also cardiac output decreases, because in hemorrhage, due to the loss of the blood, there is decrease in blood volume and there is decrease in cardiac output. Okay, so this is all about the variations in cardiac output. uh, okay, now students will continue the next slide, the distribution of cardiac output. So which organ get how much blood, or which organ get how much ml of the blood per minute, or the part of the cardiac output. So it is a distribution of the cardiac output. For example, our cardiac output is 5 liter. So how the organs are taking the blood of this total cardiac output. So see, uh, in this slide, body organs, then blood flow per minute, and the percent of the cardiac output. Okay, so it's a very important slide. You can see the blood flow to the different organs. See the liver it gets 1500 ml blood per minute, that is a 25% of the cardiac output. Kidney it get 1300 ml blood, that is a 25% of total cardiac output. The if you see the size of the kidney is less. Okay, and here perhaps it is a highest contributor of the cardiac output, because it is a 25% of cardiac output at resting state, it goes to the kidney. Then in addition to that, brain it gets 750 ml, lungs get 500 ml, heart get 250 ml blood per minute, that is total 1500 ml. Means these three organs get 25% of total cardiac output. Okay, now here skeletal muscle and other body organs get 1000 ml blood, and skin, that is skin and to the surface of the body, or we can say that the whole skin, total skin, it gets 500 ml, that is total it becomes 25 percent of cardiac output. See, in this slide we can say that the 75% of cardiac output is distributed to the vital organ. At the resting state, the maximum blood means 75% of total blood pumped by the heart. 75% of cardiac output, it goes to the vital organ at the resting state, and only 25 ml of the blood is distributed to the rest of the part, that is skeletal muscle and other organs and skin. So only get 25%. So this is the contribution at the resting state. But remember students, the picture it changes during the exercise. When you are doing the exercise, then definitely this blood, more and more blood will be supplied to the skeletal muscle, means this blood is diverted towards the skeletal muscle, and the skeletal muscle it gets maximum blood depending on the severity of the exercise. Okay, so during exercise and during the temperature regulation, the skin can get more blood. In the different conditions, that this person can be altered. For example, during exercise skeletal muscle gets more blood. During the regulation, if the environment is hot, then skin can get more blood. Like this it can be altered, but at resting state this is a contribution to the different organs. Okay, so this is what we discuss up to the up to this point, that is a distribution of cardiac output. Okay, now students, coming to the main part of this class, that is a factors maintaining the cardiac output, or the factors control the cardiac output, or the factors determine the cardiac output, or the factors affecting the cardiac output. See, question they can use the word, different word, but you should understand, you have to explain the factors which determine or regulating the cardiac output. Meaning is same. Okay, maintaining, control, determine, affecting, regulating. So factors, these are the factors, and they control the cardiac output. See the factors, this is a list of the factors which determine the cardiac output, and see one by one. uh, Cardiac output is determined by, you first in your answer make out the list, the very important factor that determine the cardiac output, decide the cardiac output, it is a venous return. Okay, now again I will remind you that normal cardiac output at resting state, it is a 5 to 6 liter per minute. Okay, and you know, per minute, it is a, again the definition is the amount of the blood pumped by each ventricle into the circulation. For example, cardiac output, the amount of the blood it is pumped by the left ventricle into the aorta. So what factors affects the venous return? Then force of contraction, heart rate, arterial blood pressure, peripheral resistance. These are the important factors which determine cardiac output. Here, uh, in sometimes you can get the question directly on the venous return. What is a venous return? And describe the factors affecting on venous return. Okay, so these are also discussed under the cardiac output, if the long question, and same factors you can describe, you can write under the venous return, because included under the cardiac output. So venous return is determined by the metabolic, basal metabolic rate, right arterial pressure, that is a venous pressure we can say that, then respiratory pump, muscle pump, gravitational force, and the mean corpuscular filling pressure. So we'll go there one by one. So first factor, see the venous return. Okay, here, what is a venous return? Okay, so here venous return, the definition is, it is the quantity of blood flows from veins into the right atrium per minute, called the venous return. So amount of the blood, it is collected or it is returned from the venous system to the heart. To the heart means to the right atrium, and per minute is important word, per minute, it is called the venous return. Okay, so in another word we can say that it is sum of all local blood flow from individual segments of peripheral circulation. So whatever the blood it is circulated to the different organs or the tissues, this all, this sum of all local blood flow once collected in the vena cava and returned into the right atrium, that is per minute, that is our venous return. Okay, so it is most important factor that affects on cardiac output. How it affects on the cardiac output? So simply, cardiac output is directly proportional to the venous return. So what is the mechanism? We'll go there. Means any increase in venous return, it leads into the increase in cardiac output. Okay, so venous return increase, there is increase in cardiac output. So we'll discuss one by one. So amount of the blood into the heart. So remember, amount of the blood flows into the heart is pumped into the circulation without delay. Okay, so it is simple. Whatever the amount of the blood it is collected into the heart, it must pump, or it is must pump into the circulation without a delay. and how the heart achieve it. Okay, how the heart achieve it, will go there. I want to remind that cardiac output is the product of heart rate into the stroke volume. How the cardiac output calculated? It is heart rate into the stroke volume. And how the heart it pumps whatever the blood is collected into the heart, how it is pumped into the circulation, what are these physiological functions of the physiological uh, process will go there. Now see, second factor. Okay, second factor, that is a force of contraction. Okay, so here what is a force of contraction? So force of contraction means how much heart contract for one stroke. Okay, and here cardiac output is directly proportional to the force of contraction. Okay, so whatever the blood is collected in the in the heart, according to the Frank's law, Frank-Starling's law of the heart. What is Frank-Starling's law of the heart? The force of contraction of the heart is directly proportional to the initial length of muscle. Force of contraction of heart is directly proportional to the initial length of cardiac muscle fiber. So remember, they try to understand, suppose venous return is increased. Venous return is increased, there is increase in force of contraction. How the force of contraction is increased? In case there is increase in venous return, there is increase in cardiac output. How it is achieved? Just from the last slide, we said that the cardiac output is directly proportional to the venous return. You imagine that the venous return is increased. So how the cardiac output is achieved? The first mechanism is increase in force of contraction. And how it is achieved? It is achieved by the Frank-Starling's law. What is Frank-Starling's law? Frank-Starling's law says that if the initial length of the muscle is more, muscle contract more or heart contract vigorously. Now see the mechanism. For example, there is increase in cardiac output, there is increase in venous return. That means there is more accumulation of the blood in the heart, and this accumulated blood, it increases the initial length of the muscle due to stretched wall of the heart. And if the initial length of the muscle is increased, the force of contraction it increases. Means we can say that the heart it contract vigorously, and it leads into the increase in stroke volume. Means stroke volume means the blood pumped for one contraction, one stroke. This stroke volume it increases, and there is increase in cardiac output. So like this, venous return, increase in venous return, increase in force of contraction, and there is increase in cardiac output. Okay, so here students, uh, I am not going in detail for the Frank-Starling's law. Already we studied many times here. Initial length, why there is more contraction if the initial length of the muscle is more. If the muscle is stretched, more and more number of myosin heads and actin filament and myosin filament, particularly heads, they are coming into the picture, and the contraction is more. Simply contraction is more. So we can say that simply, if the more the accumulation of the blood, heart it contracts vigorously, and it increases cardiac output, and that leads into the increase in cardiac output. Okay, now see, here under the force of contraction, the force of contraction it depends on preload and afterload of heart. Okay, so what is preload and what is afterload? So preload means blood accumulated in ventricle. Okay, and afterload means aortic and pulmonary arterial pressure against which the heart is working. So we can say that हार्ट हैज टू टाइप्स ऑफ द लोड. हार्ट पे दो टाइप्स का लोड है, एक तो प्री लोड है और आफ्टर लोड है. प्री लोड मीन्स it is load there on the heart before heart it contracts, and that is how much blood is accumulated in the ventricle. That is called the preload. Okay, then afterload means once the contraction has started, there is a opening of aortic wall and pulmonary wall, and once the walls open, the pressure act on the heart, that is aortic pressure and pulmonary pressure act on the heart is called the afterload, and how it affects on the cardiac output. Okay, so we can say that force of contraction and cardiac output is directly proportional to the preload. Means simply, if more the preload, means simply if more the accumulated blood in ventricle, there is increase in force of contraction, there is increase in cardiac output. Then what is the effect of afterload? The in afterload, if more the afterload, there is decrease in cardiac output. So simply we can say that force of contraction and cardiac output is inversely proportional to the afterload. Afterload agar ज़्यादा रहा, afterload means it is a pressure against which the heart is working. Okay, that is a pressure in the circulatory system in aorta, that is in the we can say that in the artery, pressure in artery. So here it is a pressure and heart is contracting against the pressure, that's why there is decrease in cardiac output. Okay, so this is a one of the important factor that how it affects on cardiac output. It is a force of contraction. Okay, now we'll continue, students. Next factor that is it acts on the cardiac output is a heart rate. Okay, now we are talking about that increase in venous return, it leads into the increase in force of contraction and increase in heart rate, because whatever the blood collected in the heart has to pump into the circulation without delay. And how it is achieved? It is achieved by increasing heart rate and increasing force of contraction. Just in our previous slide, we discussed how the force of contraction is increased if there is increase in venous return. Now here in this slide, we'll see how the heart rate it increases when there is increase in venous return, because cardiac output is directly proportional to the heart rate. Any increase in heart rate, it leads into the cardiac output, because our this equation, this formula, cardiac output is equal to heart rate and stroke volume. Stroke volume we discuss under the force of contraction. Now see, we'll discuss here how the heart rate it increases and how it affects on cardiac output. Students, now see, heart rate it is increased by the reflex. This reflex already we discussed in regulation of the heart rate, and this reflex is called the Ben-Bridge reflex. Here you know, by the Ben-Bridge reflex, according to the Ben-Bridge reflex, there is increase in heart rate when the venous return is increased. Okay, and that ultimately leads into increase in cardiac output. Ben-Bridge is a name of that scientist who has discovered this reflex, and that is called the Ben-Bridge reflex. So Ben-Bridge reflex क्या करता है? Ben-Bridge reflex क्या करता है? When there is increase in venous return, it leads into increase in heart rate. How? See the mechanism. Now venous return is increased. When there is increase in venous return, then you know, as per the Ben-Bridge reflex, you know, here in atrium, that is in right atrium, and the wall of the right atrium, there are the receptors, and they get supplied by the vagus nerve, and this receptor gets stimulated when there is a stretching of wall of right atrium, and it stimulate the you know, it stimulate the vagus nerve, that is afference of the vagus nerve, and send the signals to the vasomotor center. Okay, and it initiate this reflex and nervous reflex to the vasomotor center. The you know, there the vasoconstrictor area gets stimulated, and stimulation of the vasoconstrictor area in turn increase the sympathetic stimulation and decrease the sympathetic tone. Okay, so increase in sympathetic tone and decrease in vagal tone. Okay, so you know, that day we also discussed what is the role of vagal tone in the regulation of the heart rate. You know, sympathetic stimulation to the heart, it increases heart rate, and the decrease in vagal tone, it increases the heart rate. Okay, so decrease in vagal tone, vagal tone means it is inhibitory influence on the heart by the vagus. If the inhibitory influence decrease, that means there is increase in heart rate, and increase heart rate, there is increase in cardiac output. Okay, so this is a one mechanism how the increase venous return, it increases heart rate. How much heart rate is increased? Total, out of this total 85% of the heart rate is increased by the Benbridge reflex. Okay, and remaining 15% of the heart rate is increased by this mechanism. And what is this mechanism? The second mechanism is also here, the due to the venous return, there is also the accumulation of the blood in the right atrium, and this accumulated blood in the right atrium directly it stretches to the SA node, stretching of pacemaker. And stretching of the pacemaker, it leads into the generation of the more impulses, cardiac impulses, and that leads into the increase in heart rate. Okay, and heart rate increase, cardiac output is also it is increased here. Depending on the severity, heart rate can be increased up to the 180. The normal range is about 60 to 80 beats per minute, but it can be increased up to the 180 beats during the exercise. So increase heart rate, it leads into the increase in cardiac output. So in this way, this is the effect of heart rate on the cardiac heart rate on the cardiac output. So next slide. Students, fourth uh, factor that affects on the cardiac output, and this fourth factor is peripheral resistance. Okay, so here peripheral resistance, what is meant by peripheral resistance? It is a resistance offered to the blood flow at the peripheral vessels. So resistance to the blood flow in blood vessel, peripheral blood vessel, that is called the peripheral resistance. And the arterioles, mainly it plays the important the site of main resistance. The main site of resistance to the blood flow is arterioles, because arterioles are that regulates the local blood flow, and there is a dilatation and constriction of the arterioles, it occurs. So here this is the peripheral resistance, and if you take all peripheral resistance together, then it is called the total peripheral resistance. Okay, this total peripheral resistance, how it affects on cardiac output. Okay, so coming to the point that the peripheral resistance, it is a resistance or load against which heart has pump the blood into the circulation. Okay, and what is its relation with the cardiac output? Cardiac output is inversely proportional to the peripheral resistance. So peripheral resistance, the cause of systolic blood pressure. What is the cause of systolic blood pressure? The systolic blood pressure is determined by the peripheral resistance. Okay, and if the more the systolic blood pressure, or if there is a more the arterial pressure, then the that means heart is working against the load. That is just we discuss, it is a after load, and here cardiac output is inversely proportional to the peripheral resistance, because more the cardiac output, more the peripheral resistance, more the arterial pressure, and there is decrease in cardiac output. Okay, so this is what effect on students will continue. If it take all what factors we discussed, if we take all together, then see the relation of these factors with the cardiac output. Okay, so here the metabolism is again we have to discuss under the factors which regulate the venous return. We'll go there, but before to that I want to say that the metabolism, that is a basal metabolic rate, is the primary determinant of cardiac output. See, the sentence is very important. So which factor is the primary determinant of cardiac output? So we can say that the metabolic rate, the basal metabolic rate is a primary determinant of cardiac output. How try to understand. So any increase in basal metabolic rate, suppose you have started any activities, there is increase in basal metabolic rate. Okay, so if the basal metabolic rate increase, there is a release of metabolic end products locally. The metabolic end products it releases, and these metabolic end products, they acts on the blood vessel, that is arterioles and vessels are there, and it causes the vasodilatation. If there is a vasodilatation, means it leads into the decrease in total peripheral resistance. If the total peripheral resistance decrease, that means particularly arterial dilatation, that increases local blood flow. Okay, and if the local blood flow is increased, so there is increase in venous return, because one of the definition of venous return is it is a sum of all local blood flow to the organs or to the periphery is collected towards the heart, returned towards the heart, and is called the venous return. So increase in local blood flow, there is increase in venous return. And you know, if the venous return is increased, that means it leads into the increase in heart rate and force of contraction. Just we discuss, force of contraction increases by Frank-Starling's law, and heart rate it increases by Benbridge reflex. So it leads into the increase in heart rate and increase in force of contraction. Ultimately, there is increase in cardiac output. Okay, and cardiac output increase if there is more pumping of the blood into the circulation, the blood pressure it also slightly it increases. Okay, depending on how much cardiac output is increased. So in this way, these factors are dependent on each other, and there is a circle. It starts from the metabolism, again it comes there, and in this way one factor it affects on the other, and finally it determine or it decides the cardiac output. So here we up to this point we discuss the main factors these are affecting on the cardiac output. Okay, students, here one of the law is there, Ohm's law, you studied in the physics. Okay, that can be applied here, and here it is a cardiac output is equal to uh, arterial pressure. It's a directly proportional to the arterial pressure and inversely proportional to the peripheral resistance. Okay, now here students will stop here, and in the second half of the lecture we'll continue with the again we'll come to the point that is a venous return and what are the factors affecting on venous return. Okay, and the remaining points, that is there is a limitation of the heart to pump the blood, and methods of determination of the cardiac out, that all we'll discuss into the second lecture or second half of the cardiac output. Okay, so for this uh, uh, at present we'll stop here. Okay sir, bye.